This section is entitled Chaplain 101, or How to Be a Friend That Job Would Admire. In my last pastorate, I took a young man to youth convention. He competed in the music competition and chose to play Dust in the Wind from Kansas on his acoustic guitar. He gave good attention to tone and tempo. The volume of his song, though, was so low that I, as his pastor, thought that he could not possibly win the competition. The judge looked beyond that and awarded the young man first place because of the quality of his music. Now the young man is all grown up, and his mother is very ill in the hospital, clinging to life in the ICU and on a ventilator. This reminded me of his precious song, Dust in the Wind. Some may not think the song is very Christian. The truth of the matter, though, is yes, it is. Everything that we have and all of our dreams will one day dry up and blow away. The fact that the song does not mention our soul or hope in God does not nullify the truth of the song. We are made of dust of the ground, and the wind has often been used as an apt illustration for the life-giving Spirit of God, who gives hope and inspires all actions of love. However, we should not minimize the human suffering and misery spoken of in the song. This is where we live. There are many joys in life, but there are many sorrows also. At any given time, people are suffering from things such as personal illness, poverty, loss of job security, illness of loved ones, rejection, loss of home, or the death of a loved one. Many people around us could benefit from a compassionate friend. Sadly, society has not taught us effective ways to help and comfort those who are suffering or grieving. We put on the blinders and try to hide from suffering. We criticize others who try to talk of it. We invoke religious promises to imply that suffering really does not hurt and will be over with soon, tomorrow. We are good at giving out quickly crafted pieces of advice aimed at causing the suffering to move on quickly and get over their suffering. We tell them things such as, tomorrow is another day. Tough times don't last, but tough people do. Or, you've got to let this go and move on. These thoughts are based on the belief that it is not good for people to live in their grief or memories of suffering. The best research on grieving shows that this is just not so. People need the opportunity to work through their hurt feelings and adjust to the problem over time. We give out this quick advice, sad to say, because we are too uncomfortable to sit for a while and listen as the friend pours out his story of suffering. The friend needs another friend who can listen. This gives validation to the fact that the suffering was real and costly to the sufferer. Job, one of God's special servants, suffered extreme suffering over an extended period of time. He had lost his children, family, property, and the respect of his spouse. His faith was extremely tested, and this was due to no fault of his own. He desperately needed old friends to come and sit down and give him the comfort of a listening ear. His friends came and spent some time with Job. After a while, they became judgmental, trying to assign a reason for Job's suffering. They began to imply that there is always a cause for suffering and that the cause is always within the person. In other words, Job needed to admit his sins in order to have relief from his suffering. Job felt that his friends were good comforters when they were silent, but when they began to suggest causes for his suffering, Job said his famous line, which says, "I have heard many such things. Miserable comforters are all of you." The takeaway is that they were being effective only when they were sitting still and being quiet. This is a big challenge for most of us. There are several reasons that quiet listening is better than advice giving. Number one, life is too complex for us to know with accuracy the cause of anyone's suffering. Number two, advice giving is a closed stance, implying that I do not have time to stay. I have made up my mind. I just need you to take this pearl of wisdom so that I can go on. Number three, advice giving is partly based on the belief that the person is too fragile to be in this suffering and that he needs to move on fast so that he does not have a total breakdown of personhood. This is not the fact. Your friend can work through the process, though it takes her months or even years to do so. Number four, advice giving makes light of the cost of the loss. This is one way of saying that this should not be so very important to you. You need to move on. Number five, advice giving ignores the fact that hurting people need to be validated. Listening and quietly comforting say that you are very important to me. I will go through this with you. Advice giving implies that the focus should be on me and my witty wisdom and good words. I should take center stage. Number six, a listening stance says that I am willing to begin the process. I may have to gain your trust before we can move forward. I will gain your trust by letting your pain be front and center in the process. As we go forward, as I gain your trust, we will journey down the pathway of healing together. The quickest way to help is to settle in and listen as the injured person tells his story. To be willing to come back repeatedly and to give validation by letting him know that his loss was important enough for him to hurt this badly. The quickest way to be sidelined is to come with a judgmental spirit and to begin spouting advice geared at causing the injured to get over the whole thing in a day or two. We are a lot like the dust in the wind, but we can gain some meaning in our lives and in the eyes of our community if we learn to care for them lovingly and listen attentively with affirmation. This is Chaplain 101, and this is the State Line Chaplain, Greg Nickel. Thank you.